Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review I am very happy to be showing you the McFarlane Toys Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn figure, which is one that was met with praise from just about everybody I've ever talked to who purchased one or even saw one, and it's a very interesting topic. I know it's been out kind of for a little while, but it's basically been impossible to find. So some people, I'm guessing a lot of people haven't found it yet. And there's a little bit of controversy with the original version coming with the sword, which is what this one is, and then the new version coming with the mace, which was supposed to be a chase variant, but then todded, and now we have two different versions, and people aren't going to be able to get some, and it's a big hassle. I'm going to review both for you guys just so you can see. But for now, we have the sword version, and it's coming from a company who has not, in recent history, had a really good track record. However, this figure doesn't fit that track record at all, so it's very interesting and we have a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 7.5 inches to the top of his melon, which makes him pretty close to 19 centimeters, and that is a big boy. They are definitely not in your 1/12 scale, though very few figures are. We're going to do some quick size comparisons because I know a lot of people have been wanting a nice Spawn figure to go in their collections and are going to be curious about how it lines up. So as you can see, totally out of scale for Marvel Legends. Not even close. Spawn's not supposed to be a giant, so definitely not going to work for Marvel Legends. Here we have a Storm Collectibles. I just realized I threw that figure and I need to finish reviewing it. Anyway, we have a Storm Collectibles Scorpion. So as you can see, their figures are definitely not in the 1/12 scale they're supposed to be. Let's put them in a quick pose. I don't really want to straighten Scorpion because I don't think they're going to line up perfectly, and I want to put them back in the shelf. But if we just put them in a quick little pose, which is all that really matters for the shelf anyway, just so that you can kind of picture them next to each other fighting or something, you'll be able to tell if they're close enough in scale. There, that's a perfect combat pose. Yeah, I think they're definitely close enough. These guys are not probably perfectly in scale. I don't know their height measurements anyway, so it doesn't matter. In real life, I mean, if they were real people. But you can see, if you wanted to mix him in with your Storm figures, you definitely could, so now you can do that. Marvel Select, DC Collectibles, any 7-inch figures are going to be close enough in scale that this will be okay. Spawn's probably a little bit taller than he should be, but that's fine. So yeah, their Mortal Kombat figures so far have been butts, and then their Batman and Superman figures so far have been butts, and some of their Fortnite figures have been good, but other have been butts. This one is entirely different from all of those, give or take a few tiny details. It's kind of amazing that the same company that made those garbage figures also made this, and it's why I say when the garbage figures are garbage, because then you end up with good figures. Now I know the time frame doesn't line up, that specifically wasn't the case, but overall that is the case. If you point out the garbage for being garbage and don't buy it, good figures end up getting made. And the company is clearly capable of doing that, and that's why it's more than fair to point out when the garbage is garbage. Just looking at this right off the bat, you can see it's on an entire different level from some of those other figures. Exceptional aesthetic overall. The paints are clean. There's not a ton. There's a wash going on for most of the gray or black. There's a little bit of a wash, or at least a faint paint job for the white. There's a wash on the red as well. The silver is painted nicely. The face is painted really well. And I have to say, in person, the face on this guy looks way better than it did in the promo shots. Very nice. I do wish the eyes had a glow effect to them rather than just the black shading around them, but they still look really, really nice. This is a really nice looking figure. Like, anybody that thinks this is even close to on par with those other figures is insulting this figure. This one is so much better looking than those. So nice. Are there things that could change? Sure, his chest is pretty small compared to what he looks like in the game, but it's not like extraordinarily small, so once you pose him you won't even notice. Like I said, the colors could be tweaked, but it's not going to be perfect. It's still really good. The little details are all painted on here fairly well. That's nice. The only other thing that stands out, I don't know what McFarlane's doing with this situation, but they have had a lot of trouble. Okay, there's two things with the knees on these figures. So his knee is where it goes mostly, but they put the joint offset, so there's like a knee lump over here, and then the joint goes over here, and it's real lumpy and just disjointed looking. It's very weird. So for the aesthetic, it's not great. We'll get to the articulation in a minute. The other thing is biceps. The upper arms are not really shaped like anything. They just kind of look like bags of meat. It's not super noticeable on this guy because he's all lumpy and wrinkly anyway, but it's just, that's not the shape of the muscle. So I don't know what Todd's doing there. I doubt he's actually making any of these things anymore, but still, very strange. But overall, this thing is exceptional looking. For the price point, it is hard to rival. Very good. So aesthetically, I'm going to give this guy a 9. Small things could be changed. They don't have to, of course, other than like the knee and the bicep. I would say those are things that probably should be different. But very, very clean looking figure. Now, as far as accessories go, this is the sword version. So he has his sword, which is the version I imagine everyone wants. I can't imagine most people want the mace, which is unfortunate because as far as I can tell, starting soon, all of them will come with a mace and not a sword, and they are not being produced or at least sold at the same time, which is unfortunate. If that is the case and people really are struggling, maybe I'll start making the sword. Like I'll make copies of the sword to sell to you guys, kind of like I do with the Marvel Legends heads. I don't know, maybe something like that could happen. Let me know if you're interested. But this is the sword. It is very nicely detailed. I like it a whole bunch. He also comes with one of these little black display stands, which is not big enough for him, and I personally hate these things. I wonder if anybody uses them, and I don't like having to tear open my package to get to it, so I'm leaving it in there, but you do get one of those. And that's it for accessories. Not the most. I think some alternate hands would have been great. We don't have them, however, so 6 out of 10. I think a fist hand or two would have been nice, for sure. All right, on to the articulation, which is, again, just like the aesthetic, significantly better than the previous releases from this company. And all those people that were defending those, this is what those could have been like, which would have made them objectively better. So now you can see. The head is on. It feels like a single ball peg. It could be a double. Doesn't get a ton of range, but it definitely gets enough. You can lean it side to side. You can rotate it. Of course, the cape is in the way, but plenty of range. A single ball peg is more than sufficient. A double ball peg is just even better, so this is perfectly good. I like that. Shoulders are connected on a ball peg, which moves around, sometimes with a little bit of struggle, but it does move around in there, and then we just have a floating cap that hides it. Then you have your ball hinge, which gives you really good range. That extra movement in there doesn't really afford much. I still don't quite get why they're bothering to do it, but it doesn't hurt anything. It is somewhat helpful, so that's fine. It doesn't look bad in this case, so that is perfectly good. You do get a bicep swivel, and that's all good. Plenty of range there. Double jointed elbow, limited range only because of the stuff that Spawn has on him, his edgelord gear, so can't really do much about that. Can't fault McFarlane for that. Plenty of range given what they had to work with, so that is okay. And then for the wrists, we actually have ball hinges. They're a little tricky to work with because they're all recessed in gauntlets, but they are there and they do work, so that is fine. For the torso, I want to say it's a double, but I'm not sure. It might only be a single, but even still, you get decent range. It could be more, and mine's a little bit floppy, but you get decent range there, and that's okay. You get a lot of range out of what I think is just a single ball peg down here, so combining, well, I guess it's not really a lot, but it's enough. You combine the two, and you'll be able to pose him pretty well. Could it be better? Yeah, but that's perfectly sufficient. He does have a soft crotch, which kind of floats, and you have to be careful because you could look inside there. I wouldn't recommend it. You don't want to see that. But it does kind of move around and float, and it does allow for the legs. Even though it looks like it wouldn't, it allows for the legs to move pretty freely, and that is nice. Unfortunately, they sculpted some big old butt cheeks on his crotch piece, and very deep butt crack. Very strange. Never thought I'd be saying that, but because of that, it looks fine when it's neutral, but you can't bring the legs back very much, though I don't think it's necessary. Just pointing it out. If you try to bring the legs back, the cheeks are going to get in the way. Going out to the side, almost full on splits, no problem there. They did a much better job with these joints, even though it's the same type of joint that we saw in the other figures. They did a much better job making them look good and function well, so that is nice. You do get some thigh swivel, though not a ton. And then for the knees, like I said, they're super duper weird in terms of ugliness, but you get really good range out of them. Are they too long? Probably, because you end up with this really thick knee right here once it's bent, but you do get really good range, so you can decide how you feel about that. There is a middle ground, though, I think, that would make it look better and still function well. For the ankle, you get a ball hinge, which gives you plenty of good range, full-on ankle rocker, so no problems with this foot. Toe hinge is abysmal. It's really too far back, and you get a big lump sticking out, so that's no good, but it is there. And on this side, it's the same thing, just with a giant stupid boot around it. And so you technically get some range out of it, though still not very much. So articulation on this guy, not perfect, but significantly, not even comparably better than, let's say, the Mortal Kombat ninjas that they released, or some of the Batmans or Supermans. this figure just blows them all out of the water. Are there things I might change a little bit? Yeah, probably, but this is more than satisfactory. If this was the level of every figure they were releasing, they wouldn't have any bad press at all at this point. This is perfectly satisfactory. So I'll give this guy, I'm gonna give him an 8 for articulation. Definitely really nice overall. And now it's time for the final verdict. I personally love this figure. Again, there's things I would change personally. Objectively, the things I would change are very minimal. Very minimal. I don't think any of them necessarily need it other than like the better sculpt for the bicep or the knee. I think maybe the chest being a little bit bigger to be more accurate. But otherwise, the things I would change are just my personal taste. This is an excellent, excellent release. For your money, you're getting more than enough stuff. More than enough quality, more than enough everything. I recommend this 100%. I'm gonna give this guy, I think I'm gonna bounce it up to a 9 out of 10. It's just really, really well done. For the price point, you're getting a whole lot of figure that's done really well overall. Yeah, I think the biggest thing I would change is just give me some different hands. Because he's got trigger finger hand on this side and no gun and no fist hands. Things like that. A couple different hands would be awesome. But very, very good release. Very strong release. Recommend it 100%. I will be reviewing the mace version just in case there's any noticeable difference in the figure itself, but mostly it's just going to be this, I'm assuming, so we'll see. But there it is, guys. Let me know what you think about this release, and we'll talk about it in the comment section below. And if you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, that's okay too. Give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. You definitely should, because I have new videos out almost every single day. And for the days I don't, I've got thousands of videos already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.